This is Carissa. I felt it was important to speak to you directly today because this is at the heart of why I'm able to turn my page every day. Our family has begun this year reading through the Bible. And right now we're on Abraham's covenant. And this is what I'm reading. Then one of them said, "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son." Now Sarah was listening at the edge of the tent. And when she heard that she was going to have a son, she laughed. And thought to herself, "After I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure?" Then the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Will I really have a child in my old age?' Is anything too hard for God? Remember that. I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Depression penetrates at our weakest points, and for Sarah, it was her barrenness. She could not believe that God could heal her or give her a child in her old age. She had given up on the pleasure of having a child, and she had borne a lot of displeasure. In being barren, it was looked on that you had sinned in some way, that God was angry at you, that he was punishing you. And so in spite of the fact that God had given Abraham this covenant, Sarah's never heard directly from God. And in fact, her own maidservant, who she attempted to give to Abraham to try to help God out a little bit with this whole covenant thing. You know how well that would work out, right? She has heard from God directly. He spoke directly to her. Sarah never has. 15 years of God promising to Abraham that he was going to do this, and Sarah's never heard from him directly. So she has the same reaction as Abraham. She laughs. Am I going to have a child in my old age? Many of us may be in that place. I'm in that place of Sarah. Do I trust God that he is going to bring good out of my son's death? Or am I going to give in to the depression of losing him, of him not being here, of that constant ache of his absence? Evenings are the hardest for me. I can have a spring in my step in the mornings, but by the time night hits, I'm weary. I feel a lot of physical pain. And I feel the weight of Jonathan's death pushing down on my shoulders, and depression begins to choke rational thoughts. I contemplate things undone or relationships unraveled. I have a harder time reining in the muttering critic. When is depression at its worst for you? We feel unfulfilled. And let's face it, sometimes we feel unfulfilled by God. And that can drive a wedge between the promises that we have seen and the promises that are yet to be fulfilled in our lives. I've seen throughout Scripture that God promises that he is going to bring good out of the evil, and that he has a plan for it. And I can even see and trace the steps of that as I'm reading through the Scripture. You may not have gotten that far yet, but I encourage you to open up the Bible, because it is full of promises, not just for you, but for us. Because think about it. This is from the beginning in Genesis to Revelation to the end. And guess what? You and I are in the middle of that. So those promises are for us. Those things that are being filled, Jesus coming and being and dwelling here, was for us. That happened even before we got here. So what do we do with all this? How is it that I am able to turn the page every day, sometimes even when I don't feel like it. Here's the clue. Some days I don't turn the page. Some days it is God turning the page. And in this case, Sarah laughed. God acknowledges that she laughs. But does that stop him from fulfilling his promise? No. So you may be caught right now in the throes of depression. You may be wondering whether or not to continue, to turn your page. But just like I've seen over and over that when I turn the page, God has provided. And this year I turned a new page. This year I felt God calling me to focus with my whole heart on loving him. And out of that, it would increase my love for you. It would increase my love for anyone that I come in contact with. And in that challenge, I'm reading his promises. And once again, I'm reminded that he's been faithful to me. This is how I'm able to turn the page, that I've seen the evidence of his faithfulness. And if you haven't seen that evidence yet, I encourage you, take the steps to begin to ask for it, to look for it, to, like Abraham, run out and greet these strangers, greet God, and welcome them in for a meal. Welcome Jesus in to be with you, to trust you. That was the first step I ever took in my life that changed things for the better. I had tried to do a lot of things on my own. I had tried to change things a lot on my own, and it always ended up in disastrous places. And you can see that through scripture when the Israelites do that, when Abraham did that. It caused pain, it caused friction, it caused the journey to be longer. And here's the thing, when you and I give in to depression, we make the journey longer. So that's our job. That is our choice, to not give in to the depression, to turn the page and see what happens next, to